Although I do in fact live near Chicago, the railroad capital of the Midwest, I've never really spent too much time exploring. I've only been on the BNSF Chicago Sub once, and only for like 30 minutes. Yeah, exactly. So I made it my goal to get out and explore some more in 2023, which is where this video comes in. The southern part of the CP C&M Sub, like the Elgin Sub, isn't actually owned by CP, but by Metra. Metra ownership runs from Canal Street in Chicago to Roundout, where it curves northwest to Fox Lake, and CP ownership takes over for the 50 miles or so to Milwaukee. 8 daily Amtrak trains in each way call the C&M Sub home, one less on Sunday. 7 Hiawatha trains 6 days a week, one less on Sunday, to Milwaukee, and the daily Empire Builder. Then on top of the Metra Milwaukee District North and Amtrak, you've got CP Freights. It's an interesting little line. If you've been around this channel, you know that Metras don't necessarily do much for me. There's a lot of them, and unless you happen to catch a specially painted locomotive, they all pretty much look the same. What I'm here for are Amtrak and especially Freights. I have a few targets as far as daily trains go. CP 148 and 149 are a pair of intermodal and auto trains between Bensonville and Roberts Bank, British Columbia, via Minneapolis. 246 and 247 are priority manifest trains between Bensonville and St. Paul, while 248 and 249 run from the Belt Railway of Chicago Clearing Yard to St. Paul. On top of those 6, you've got the 4 times weekly 254 and 255 runs to and from Tracy, Minnesota, and the Rapid City, Pierre, and Eastern, and a smorgasbord of unit trains that don't run on schedules. Common commodities here include crude oil, ethanol, potash, and sand. Coal is pretty rare, but not unheard of. The Wisconsin and Southern also has trackage rights over Metra, but typically runs very late into the night, after the last Metra evening run and before the first morning run. The C&M Sub is a bit odd in that there are 2 ways for freights to get to Bensonville. The shorter and preferred route is to split away from the C&M Sub at Tower A20 and use trackage rights on the UP Milwaukee Sub from Shermer, CPN018, to Bryn Mawr, CPN008. Trains then use the short Bryn Mawr cutoff to run into or out of the west side of Bensonville at Tower B17. Elgin Sub towers have B prefixes, C&M Sub towers use A, if you haven't noticed. The alternate route is to run almost the whole length of the C&M Sub to Tower A5, where the Elgin Sub begins and ends, and then run west into the east end of Bensonville. Running this way and accessing the BRC requires either a reverse move or running the power around the train, so 248 and 249 always run via the UP. 247 typically runs via A5, although I'm not sure I've ever heard 246 do this, and I'm not really sure the reasoning behind it. However, because the Wisconsin and Southern only has trackage rights over Metra and not UP, they have to run via A5. Running via A5 requires blocking at least one main track on both the C&M and Elgin Sub, which is another part of why it's not ideal. The plan is this: head to Deerfield on a Saturday morning and see what we see. Depending on what time we get there, 149 should be easy to catch, and probably 246. Depending on how long we stay, 247 could be in play too. The whole line is CTC controlled and, at least for now, still visible on ATCS monitor. Metra is planning to switch over to ITCM, but as of now hasn't yet. Enjoy it while you still can. We're at Lake Cook Road, milepost 22.9. No Amtrak will stop here as they stop 5 miles south in Glenview, but all Metras will. I arrive at Lake Cook Road about 9:30 a.m. An outbound Metra Milwaukee District North train 2601 is in the station, shortly followed by an inbound 2604, but I didn't have enough time to set up for these, although I did catch a few very overexposed, because I forgot to check my settings, pictures of 2604. Then the wait began. I knew 149 had left Bensonville, but I really had no way of knowing how far along it was. Turns out it got stuck in displays for a very long time. I had my tablet for ATCS, but I was only getting data for one control point, Deerfield West. Tower A20 would have been significantly more helpful, but I never saw a blip of data from it. So I did what I could. I waited and waited and waited. After a little over an hour wait, I finally saw a headlight from the south. I assumed that it was 149, but as I looked closer, I saw I was wrong. A 547 has come off the UP and heads north on the C&M, timetable west. 547 is ethanol empties heading from Bensonville to, Well, a whole bunch of different places depending on the day. Fair warning, get used to the dogs barking in the background. There's a dog daycare next to the station. I knew there would be a chunk of activity in the 11 a.m. hour, so I sat back down and the wait resumed. A little before 11:30, here comes outbound Metra 2603. And I tell you, I've never gotten more waves and horn salutes than on this day. Must have been something in the air. Not too far after 2603 is inbound 2608. Although I can't see ATCS, I kinda get an idea of what's going to happen here. 149 is sitting at Shermer on the UP. After this pair of Metras is a northbound Amtrak Hiawatha, after which 149 will come out onto the C&M ahead of a southbound Hiawatha. And all of this should happen in fairly rapid succession. Barely a minute after Metra 2603 clears out, Amtrak Hiawatha 333 comes around the corner to the south. I actually got caught off guard by it. I thought I'd have a few more minutes. Yet another friendly engineer. 15 minutes later, I finally see 149, with one locomotive on the head end and a rather special DPU later in the middle. I needed to go, but checking the Amtrak live map, I saw southbound Hiawatha 334 very rapidly approaching. So I set up on the opposite platform for what was almost definitely going to be a full-speed 79 mile an hour flyby. Not quite the 90 to 100 plus that the Milwaukee Road used to run, but still impressive. Finally, just a few minutes before noon, here comes 334. I would have loved to spend more time here, but I had an appointment I couldn't reschedule, so I headed out. It was also getting windier and cloudier with a chance of rain in the afternoon. 2.5 hours was a decent amount of time, although I would have loved to get at least one more freight, but there's always the future. If you enjoyed this video, then let me know by hitting the like button. I really like doing these just go sit somewhere and see what we see type videos, so if you like them too, then let me know. You can follow me on Instagram and read the blog. Links are in the video description. Until next time, go out and explore, and thank you for watching the Northeastern Illinois Railfan YouTube channel.